Before the Ice Age, there was a coastline that could kill you without warning. Not a myth, not a legend. A real stretch of land where humans walked, camped, and survived until the sea erased it. Where waves roll today, there were plains. Where darkness hides the sea floor, there were rivers, dunes, and firelight. And if you stood there long enough, you would learn a brutal truth. The ground beneath your feet was not stable. It was borrowed. Cold air rolled in from open water, carrying salt and mist that burned exposed skin. Wide tidal flats shimmered under pale skies, slick with retreating water. Solid one moment, deadly the next. Rivers spilled into the sea, carving channels through sand and silt, reshaping the land with every season. This was not the edge of the world. For thousands of years, it was the world. The land stretched outward farther than memory, forming a vast shelf between ice and ocean. And humans lived there, not briefly, not accidentally, but deliberately. They returned again and again to the same shifting edge, knowing survival depended on reading the land faster than it changed. This coastline was not chosen for beauty. It was chosen because everything else was worse. During the Ice Age, much of the interior was unforgiving. Frozen ground locked away nutrients. Game was scarce, unpredictable, and often deadly to pursue. Distances between shelter and sustenance could mean collapse before nightfall. But the coast behaved differently. It renewed itself. Shellfish returned with the tides. Fish gathered in shallow pools when the water withdrew. Seals hauled out onto sandbars during colder seasons, conserving energy in the open air. Driftwood washed ashore when trees were scarce inland, bringing fuel without long journeys. Stone and bone surfaced naturally, carried by water instead of hunted across frozen terrain. The coastline was not generous. It was reliable. And humans learned how to read it. Survival here was not about strength. It was about timing. Knowing when tides exposed food. Knowing when storms turned lethal. Knowing when to move before water claimed ground that looked solid yesterday. This was not luck. It was scheduling. Memory passed through generations, sharpened by loss. Small groups lived light. Shelters were temporary, placed near dunes or low rises that blocked wind. Fire pits were built where gusts could not steal heat, where embers could survive the night. Tools were few, portable, and repaired constantly. Nothing here assumed permanence, because the coastline had a cruel rule. It could disappear. A storm surge could destroy a shelter overnight. A rising tide could trap someone against freezing water with no warning. Hypothermia did not need violence. It only needed minutes. And while storms punished mistakes, something far larger was happening beyond daily survival. The coastline itself was moving. When ice sheets expanded, sea levels fell. More land emerged. New plains opened beyond the horizon. Rivers lengthened their courses, cutting deeper paths toward the sea. Humans followed the retreating water, adapting routes and camps as the world expanded outward. But when the climate shifted again, the ice melted, and the ocean returned. Not as a single wave, not as catastrophe in a moment, but slowly, relentlessly, season after season. Water crept inland, trails vanished beneath rising tides. Camps were abandoned, rebuilt, and abandoned again, each time farther back until there was nowhere left to retreat. Rivers drowned at their mouths, their paths erased beneath salt water. Over time, global sea levels rose more than 100 meters from Ice Age lows. That rise swallowed vast continental shelves, entire landscapes that had once been walked, hunted, and remembered. The lost coastline was not erased by drama, it was erased by persistence. So how do we know this world truly existed? Because it left scars beneath the sea. Modern mapping reveals submerged river valleys carved when land was exposed, still etched into the seafloor. Terraces preserved underwater mark ancient shorelines, frozen in place when the ocean overtook them. Sediment layers record when ground was dry, when it flooded, and how quickly the change came. In rare cases, stone tools and traces of human activity have been recovered from submerged landscapes, fragile, difficult to find, but impossible to ignore. On today's coasts, shell middens still rise above the sand. Piles of shells and bone left behind by people who returned again and again to the shoreline, harvesting what the tides offered. The evidence suggests the coast was not a boundary. It was a corridor, a route that provided direction, food, and continuity, a place where movement renewed survival instead of exhausting it. This lost coastline may have guided early migrations, not because it was easy, but because it was readable. Landmarks followed the water, food followed the tides. The path forward curved along the edge of the sea, offering orientation in a world shaped by ice and darkness. And then the sea took it back. If you could stand on that Ice Age shelf land before it vanished, nothing would feel temporary. People lived as if the ground beneath them would remain. They made choices. They lost things. They taught children where fish gathered, where birds nested, where wind broke behind dunes. When sea levels rise, they do not only flood land, they flood memory. They bury roots that shaped lives and knowledge that once made survival possible. So when we look out at the ocean today, we are not just seeing water. We are looking at the roof of a vanished world. A place that helped humans survive the Ice Age, and then disappeared so completely that we almost forgot it was ever there. And this is only the first lost world. Because beyond the drowned coastline, there were inland corridors that opened briefly between ice walls, paths that existed for a moment, then closed forever. Routes that carried humans through cold darkness like threads through a needle. Next, we follow one of those paths, the last route humans could cross, before the ice took it back.